The prospect of being shredded for the stage has been glorified through social media. And while it is a very special kind of physical aesthetic to reach, and an impressive mental and emotional accomplishment to boot, what I don't think is highlighted enough is exactly what the cost of getting that shredded is. What goes on behind the scenes? What kind of struggle is involved in getting there and in staying there? See, with social media, we often only get to see the end result, or a highlight reel or the best moments of the process leading up to it. Social media influencers and bodybuilders, I suspect, often underreport the amount of struggle they experience throughout the process in getting shredded, and even exaggerate the amount of enjoyment they experience from the process. Honestly, of the 5 natural bodybuilding preps that I've done to get shredded, I've been guilty of that myself in retrospect. At the time of recording this, I'm under 2 weeks out for my final show of my 2026 natural bodybuilding competition season. I've been shredded for a long time at this point. So for this video, while showing you footage from my latest full body gym workout, I thought I would share with you exactly what it's felt like to get this shredded and what it feels like now as I'm upholding or I'm maintaining this level of leanness, this low body fat percentage, as I make my way to my final competition of the season. In essence, I'm going to share with you exactly what the cost of being shredded has been, truthfully, from my experience. I'm going to do my best to be super honest with you, and we'll share what you might not often hear from fitness influencers or bodybuilders on social media. If you find this video to be interesting or helpful, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out. Okay, let's dive in. Before I get into the details of how I've been feeling, I want to preface by saying that in doing so, I'm not looking for sympathy. Getting and staying shredded for the purpose of a natural bodybuilding competition season is actually an incredible opportunity, one that most people in the world couldn't even fathom. Sharing these details is meant to be a means of informing anyone interested in getting shredded for themselves the kind of realistic, honest struggles they might and probably will face along the way. I also want to note that when I say shredded, I'm really referring to being in the single-digit body fat percentages, for men anyways, which is actually significantly leaner than what most people aim to accomplish for, say, looking good on the beach in the summer, which is probably closer to somewhere between 10 to 15% body fat. Some of the same challenges might be felt at that summer lean look or when trying to get that lean, but it's not the same monster as getting shredded for the stage. The last point I want to make is that although I'm about to share many of the struggles of being shredded for the stage, it is also incredibly rewarding. I actually made a video when I was a week or so out from my first competition of my natural bodybuilding season, elaborating on why I personally find it all so rewarding. I would check that video out after you finish watching this one if you want some potential motivation. I've linked that in the description below. Okay, now let's dive into the honest cost of being shredded, which I have articulated as 5 different struggles. I'll start with the ones you might call the obvious struggles. The first one being hunger and food focus. Being hungry when shredded is a bit different than when you're hungry at a higher body fat percentage. The physical sensation is similar, if not the same, but is often felt for longer periods throughout the day and at times to greater extremes. Each meal acts as a kind of acute, short-term relief for the hunger, of course, or as I like to see it, it acts as a kind of a life raft to alleviate the physical sensation of hunger. The part where the hunger is different than when at a higher body fat percentage is the mental food focus that often comes with it, where it becomes difficult to not find yourself thinking about food. At the point where I'm at now, I find myself extremely focused and regularly thinking about my next meal. And if I'm super honest, I would tell you that that's literally on the forefront of my mind most of the time. Even after I immediately finish a meal, I'm already thinking about the next one. How many more hours will I have to wait? Will my work keep me busy enough to keep my mind off of it? This kind of food focus isn't fun. However, on a positive note, I found that it does make you enjoy your meals and appreciate the food you have significantly more than when not shredded for the stage. The food tastes better and is more enjoyable and rewarding. That's actually something I like about it. For all of the difficulty that comes with this uncomfortable food focus, having meals throughout the day that each act as a kind of reward makes the process kind of enjoyable, in some sense anyways. The next struggle is physical and mental tiredness. With very low levels of body fat and lower levels of food coming into the body, there is little energy to be used for the body to function, both for the body to move and the brain to think. This is one of the hardest parts about being shredded, and I find that the longer I stay in this state, the more the tiredness intensifies. Getting up and walking around gets harder, with your legs feeling heavier and heavier. Certain work tasks become more difficult too, especially the medial, more boring ones. That said, I do find that the creative tasks, or the ones where I'm working directly with my clients, are often a-okay since they keep my brain excited and engaged. Those tasks actually help the mental fatigue, I think. It's the boring mental tasks that become tougher and significantly harder to get through. And then there's the workouts. Oh man. At this point, they might be the single most difficult part of being shredded. When the body and mind feels exhausted, and when at times it's tough just to get up and walk around, lifting hundreds of pounds in your hard workouts is incredibly difficult. In general, I love working out. Naturally, it's one of the reasons why I love bodybuilding so much. But the exhaustion that comes with being shredded makes the workouts often feel like an abysmal chore. That said, they feel incredibly rewarding when they get done, which is certainly a positive. It's just the act of doing the workouts themselves that feels like a big old chore. And to be blunt, that part of being shredded kind of sucks. The next struggle is one you might not have heard before. It's tunnel vision. Tunnel vision for what, you ask? Well, two main things in particular from my experience. The first is short-term tunnel vision, and it's for what I already mentioned. It's tunnel vision for your next meal. And the second is tunnel vision for the competition or competitions themselves. Tunnel vision is both helpful and not helpful. It's not helpful in that if I'm solely focused on things like my next meals or the big upcoming competition that I have or competitions that I have coming up, it can be difficult to concentrate on the other things that are important throughout the day. And it can also make it harder to find an interest in things outside of where my tunnel vision is set. For example, when I'm shredded, I often have a very difficult time sitting through something like a movie at a movie theater, even when the movie is a good one. Why? Because I often have a hard time focusing on the movie or allowing myself to be entertained by the movie because I've always got my next meal or my upcoming competition in the forefront of my mind, taking up a ton of space. The tunnel vision can, of course, be helpful though, too, particularly when preparing for the upcoming competition or competitions. From being so focused on it, it helps me to keep my days in alignment with doing everything I ought to be doing to get on stage on the day of the competition looking my absolute best. The next struggle is yet another one you might not have heard before. It's that time can move very slow. From being hungry, exhausted, and focused on your next meal and upcoming competition, I find that there are times where time seems to move very slowly, especially between meals and when getting closer and closer to the day of the upcoming competition or competitions. Painfully slow even at times. Yeah, this isn't a fun one, but there is a way to combat this. It's to make darn sure that you're constantly busy. For me, That means making sure I always have work to do throughout my work days, and then during my time outside of work that I've got leisure activities lined up. If I've got ways to keep my mind busy to the point of getting lost in my work or leisure, then I'm good to go. It's during the slow times where boredom sets in that this gets really tough. So I do my darndest to keep busy with my work and to keep my personal leisure activities lined up so that I always have something to get lost in. And the final struggle that I'll mention here is another one you might not have heard before. Being shredded often comes with the amplification of what I'll call negative emotion. This could be feeling down, worried, fearful, irritable, impatient, and so on. Yeah, none of those feelings are pleasant, that's for sure. For me, as someone who tends to be on the anxious side by default, I find myself wrestling with being worried a lot of the time. And I mean irrationally worried about very small things. I'll often find myself feeling more irritable and even more down than usual too. Wrestling with these negative emotions is one of the hardest parts about being shredded. But at the same time, I found it also as being one of the best opportunities for internal growth. See, what I've found is that despite feeling these emotions more profoundly and intensely, they can still be overcome by means of intentionally practicing things like gratitude and using reason to fight against things like anxiety. The way that I've been looking at it is through overcoming those negative emotions when in a shredded state. It's creating a stronger version of myself than I could have or that I could become if otherwise. And there you have it, the cost of being shredded for the stage. Sharing this with you is meant to give you an idea of what you might experience if you decide to get super shredded or shredded for the stage yourself. So you're prepared and you have an idea of what's potentially coming. I made a note of this earlier, but despite the struggles that come with it, I do think that getting shredded for the stage is an incredibly rewarding experience. I made a separate video on that, so if you haven't seen it yet, feel free to go check that out now. At this point, I'd love to know your feedback. Let me know your thoughts, insights, and questions in the comment section below. Before this video comes to a close, I want to quickly let you know about the work that I do. When I'm not making YouTube videos or Instagram content, I work full-time as an online physique coach, where I help my clients to accomplish their muscle growth and fat loss goals by optimizing their approach to strength training and nutrition, and I coach them through the process. I've been doing this work for over 7 years and love helping my clients to not only transform their bodies, but ultimately their lives. If you've been considering getting some help with accomplishing your own physique goals, feel free to hit the link in the description below, where you can learn a little bit more about the work that I do and how it can help you. You can even use that link to schedule a free video consultation with me. If you have any questions about my coaching or how I can help you, just email me at sam@jadeathletics.ca. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.